The Seahawks beat the Dallas Cowboys 13-12 to improve to 4-4, and I don't know if I like football anymore. This is Real in the Field Goals, the instant reaction podcast where we sit down and we talk about what just happened in the Seahawks games. And as much as you can feel crappy after a win, I think that's how I feel right now. With me, as always, Danny Kelly, fieldgoals.com. Danny, how are you feeling?
I feel pretty good, actually. I mean, now that the adrenaline is kind of worn off and I don't have the shakes anymore, kind of start looking at everything and you feel good about it.
And some of those bad feelings about the way that I just had a feeling in my gut in the fourth quarter, which some of it goes back to the fourth quarter collapses, but I think
Yeah.
also it didn't help. The Ricardo Lockhart thing just put a
Oh,
bad
yeah.
taste in everyone's mouth, I think, for the rest of the game. Joining us this week, for the first time, we have a guest on the Instant Reaction Show, Mina Kimes, ESPN The Mag. Mina, you requested to be on. Not that I even asked you to be on before, but you really wanted to get some stuff out, I think, and just feel things audibly out to the world. Is that right?
Yeah, I just feel like kind of blowing up my spot. I felt so compelled to engage in some serious hawk talk. I feel like I'm risking becoming like Justin Timberlake and SNL, where I just show up all the time of my own volition, like her again. But no, I just have so much energy. I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of things right now. Just wanted to talk through it. Um,
Well, what's the one thing that is purveying through your mind right now the most? What's the one thing that you just like, you really want to get it out there and just get it off your chest?
I feel exactly like I did after so many games in 2012, 2013, 2014. I mean,
Yep.
I always use the word sea hockey, and people, it's not a real word, but that was the sea hockeyest game that ever Seahawks, right? I mean, the defense was phenomenal. The offense was barely good enough. Russell Wilson put the team on his back, and I was uncomfortable the entire time. How is that not like, a million games we've played over the last few years? In fact, that felt way more like previous seasons than many of the other games we played so far.
Yeah, I mean, part of me when as far as the whole weekend goes, as a Cougars fan, having the devastation last night of them losing what would have been their biggest win in 20-something years on a 43-yard field goal miss. It was just when they started getting down to those times when you knew a field goal attempt was trying to have. That's when I really started to try to detach myself from football and just I started thinking of all the things in my real life that I'm thankful for and that I'm happy about, and that I'm happy, to be alive and all these kinds of things. Because I just couldn't. I was like, don't invest yourself in the outcome of this game, no matter what you do, because it's just gonna hurt too much. I also broke my phone, so that doesn't, help either. But that was a lot of emotions going through, as it just felt more and more to me like the Seahawks were going to find a way to lose this game. Danny, do you think that your perception of the Seahawks either finding a way to win or finding a way to lose has changed at all this year?
Um, no, I mean, I think this year's been weird. It's like a lot of kind of statistical outliers, like the whole they keep winning with losing the turnover battle, and then they're losing when they're winning the turnover battle. Like that goes against like decades of really established, correlation. Um, and so some of those late game, meltdowns, I don't know if it's like that's who they are, or if that just felt like an outlier or what, but I mean, I agree completely with Mina, and that this felt like, like it felt like a Seahawks game for sure, like the agony of victory. Um, it was. There's a lot of good things about it. I mean, the score kind of like sucks, and like the fact that they had to go down there and kick a field goal, towards the end of the game, and then hold them off at the end there, like that made it really stressful. But there's a lot of good things to take away from this game, and um, for me, like a road win, um, you I don't like attaching caveats to road wins. Period. Like it's hard to get wins on the road. Like if you split your road games 4-4, like that's a great year, you know.
Well, they split now, 2-2 on the road after their last two games. They lost their first three. Oh, excuse me, 2-3. So they're trying to get split. But their next road game doesn't come until December 6th
That's
at
crazy.
Minnesota. And yeah, they're 3-1 when they lose the turnover battle, and 0-3 when they win the turnover battle. So they're sticking with that strategy a little bit. It seemed to be a bit of an uneven game for Russell Wilson, who had some inaccurate throws, I think, in the first half, maybe some poor decisions going on. But then that last drive, when they really needed him, that was a long, sustained drive. Mina, what did you think overall of Russell Wilson's game?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were a lot of frustrating passes. People were pretty happy with the performance of our O-line, 0 sacks and all that. I think after the game, I just read on Twitter that Gary Gilliam was yelling no sacks. But Russell wasn't exactly standing tall in the pocket. I think on the Luke Wilson touchdown, he maybe hung in there for a second. I'd have to rewatch it, but he was running out pretty quickly when he wasn't getting rid of the ball quickly. But yeah, I guess just to watch him do what he did at the end of the game, and he always does the little things. Like a lot of people pointed out that Greg Hardy tackle. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks
Right.
don't make that play, or him the way he reaches out and gets the first down when he's. I mean, he's just a smart football player, and you really saw that tonight, I think.
Didn't you get the feeling that that the Russell Wilson from like the 2012 playoff game against Atlanta, and then he's had those shades of that a couple times over the years where he just kind of like takes over a game. Didn't it feel like that for him?
Yeah, when they were driving, exactly, it felt exactly like that. I just don't know why we don't game plan the way I mean,
Yeah.
the way we used gravity in there. It's frustrating, but
Yeah.
The
And
Seahawks,
so,
the Seahawks fourth quarter, they had a 10-play drive for 51 yards that got down to the Dallas 29 and ended with a blocked field goal. And that was a pretty good drive by Russell Wilson, I remember. And then the next drive was 17 plays for 79 yards, and they did get a field goal on that. That was a game winner. So they had two 10-plus play drives in the fourth quarter. You can't really blame the blocked field goal on the offense. That's just one of those things.
what do you think of the? A lot of people obviously like to complain about Darrell Bevel and the play calling. What did you think of the fourth quarter play calling and time management and all that stuff?
Well, it's like there was a couple time management flubs, but I don't think they were on Bevel. It's like Marshawn Lynch decided to run out of bounds twice. Although I guess the first one he was running backwards, so the clock kept running, even though it looked bad. But I guess that wasn't that big of a deal. But that second time when he ran out of bounds, like I think there was 2 minutes and 7 seconds left, that was pretty big. So that was, I mean, again, that's not really Bevel's fault. Like, it's just players not
But
executing.
is it not Bevel's fault that they're kicking field goals instead of touchdowns?
I mean, that's such a complex question. You have to look at the execution of like his play calls too, right? And I'm, obviously this is like a 3-year discussion now about Bevel, and it's hard to really know what's right. I personally am not like on the whole fire Bevel bandwagon. I'm not like necessarily against moving on and doing something different next year, but I'm not, I just don't really think it's like, that's not something I really think about a lot, to be honest.
I think those last drive. Oh, sorry. Should I? You guys, is it okay? Okay. Well,
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, those last two drives, were frustrating. The red zone issue, but we were in a conservative situation in both times. So I don't know if we can really judge Bevel on those drives and what happened. It is frustrating that we can't seem to run inside the 20-yard line, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the bigger issue here is that the Seahawks are the worst red zone team in the NFL, and there's no way around that. And so I think, and this is just going to be a hot take, but there's probably blame on Bevel and every person on the offense. You know what I mean? Like at some point you do have to execute, but on the other hand, there's probably some sort of issue with the creativity. Like we've heard that the Seahawks run like the most simplistic offense in the NFL by a lot. I don't know if that's Bevel's fault or if that's Pete Carroll like dictating that. There's just a lot of gray area in there.
But you're not leaving guys open in the end zone. I mean, very rarely I feel like,
Yeah.
they're giving up plays. So whatever they're doing is wrong.
It just seems like they're having an easier time I mean, I guess most teams do, but they have an easier time when they have more field to work with than when they get a little bit closer. They don't have
Yeah.
those big plays, but you would think that a team that had Marshawn Lynch and Jimmy Graham would have, and Russell Wilson, but at the same time, yeah, do they have a bad offensive line? Sure. But, that's how creativity is born out of that, and is Bevel super creative? I don't know about that, but I mean, I've never been a Fire Bevel guy. You can look at plenty of statistics and plenty of reasons that, everybody focuses so much on who's first in passing yards and stuff like that, but they are still one of the top 2-3 rushing teams in the NFL. There's definitely a sense of if this was a team that scored, 4 more points per game, they'd be as good as the Patriots. But, that's how close the margin is. But we'll see what happens because now they go into bye week. We've been saying that if they could maybe get to after they were 0-2, the thought I had was if they can get to 4-4 in the bye week, then they can regroup. And the second half sets up with 5 home games, 2 games against the Arizona Cardinals, their home games against the Niners and Rams, and then road games against the Vikings and Ravens. Both of those are teams that the Seahawks are better than. So we'll see what happens. If they can have an 8-0 second half, it's not the craziest thing to think of for the Seahawks.
No.
Mina, were you one of these people that was on Twitter, rightfully so, complaining about the refs, and what did you think overall of the call of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was not good. Half the time, so I was watching in a bar in New York, so the Jets game was on, so I couldn't hear what was being said, and half the time I had no idea what was going on. Maybe that was the case even if you had noise. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big one obviously was one of the big ones was Tyler Lockett has a big punt return to the 50, and Richard Sherman called for holding right in front of Tyler Lockett. Danny, did you think that was a good call or not?
On Sherman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty clearly a hold, and he held him for 15 seconds straight. I mean, it's dude, if you're gonna do that, I understand that there's gamesmanship and all that, but it's at least make it look a little bit subtle, I mean, it was pretty clear.
Mina,
I should say I don't want to let that necessarily completely overshadow what a freaking awesome game Sherman had though.
Yeah.
He was seriously amazing in this game. He almost had 2 picks, probably almost 3. I think that last play he almost picked it too. And he pretty much shut down Dez other than that one play on 3rd down. And that's saying a lot. Dez is a really, really great player. So I thought Sherman had a really great game.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Richard Sherman had another great game. I think most of the time if he's playing, he's out there and he's playing against receivers or whatever that aren't such big names, these last couple weeks, playing teams like the 49ers and Panthers, there's going to be less of a spotlight. When you have one of the best receivers in the NFL come back and make his return, they're going to look and see. And obviously Sherman's shadowing him, but at the same time, that's where the announcers are going to be talking about. That's where the camera's going to be looking. What's Dez Bryant doing? I think Sherman got beat really only once in that one pass play where Dez Bryant got super fired up about, gaining 10 yards or whatever. It was a big play for him, probably for the amount of time how frustrated he probably was playing with Matt Castle to how much time he's had off. But, with that punt return being called back, Mina, what did you think of this tweet that I had set up? It said, with the Tyler Lockett punt return, it said Tyler, Texas, which is a real place in Texas, and his name is Tyler, and he was playing in Texas. Would you favor retweet or nothing?
I hate to say it, but I saw that tweet and I didn't either.
Yes, that's true. Nobody did. All right, moving on.
See, I want to talk about Sherman though for a second. So with Arizona, do you think they're gonna? I mean, that offense is a lot more evenly spread between the receivers. Do you think they're gonna put him on Larry? I kind of doubt it personally.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, Michael Floyd had a pretty good game today too. They just got so many weapons. So my initial reaction would be they probably play like they usually do with not having him travel. But it's a really good question.
Well, a lot of what happened with Dallas only being able to score 12 points, a field goal in all 4 quarters was the fact that they don't have Tony Romo. Castle was 13 of 25 for 97 yards,
Yeesh.
3.9 yards per attempt. It's the first time a Dallas Cowboys quarterback has had fewer than 4 yards per attempt on at least 20 passes since 2008. It's something that Tony Romo has never done in his career. So there's a huge difference between obviously Tony Romo and Matt Castle. The Cowboys, them being at 2-5, surprisingly enough, not out of the playoff race. The Giants lost today, so they're 4-4. Let's start with you, Danny. There, we're talking about the Cardinals, which is their next game, but the Rams just won again. How scared should everyone be of the Rams?
I mean, I don't know about scared. I think should be a healthy respect there because they're obviously playing really well. They've got a legit superstar-looking guy in Todd Gurley, and that's huge for them. And then obviously Tavon Austin's been he's been playing or at least more like they thought he would in terms of kind of like an X factor, really, really, really fast guy. They can, use him in a variety of ways in the return game, I think he's a punt returner. And then, just giving him a little bubble screen, and he can run for 90 yards. So overall, they have a lot of talent on that defense too. I think that it's just another really tough NFC West team. The good news is the Niners really seem to suck a lot. So.
Yeah, shouldn't be any concerns with the 49ers. Mina, do you think that the Rams can win the NFC West with Nick Foles as their quarterback?
I don't. I think they're still a little bit too one-dimensional, even with Gurley. Their wins have come against Cleveland and San Francisco, right? Since Arizona too. That was kind of a fluky game. I know, they're always a tough team, but they still have a lot of big, difficult games on their schedule. They haven't played Cincinnati yet. They need to come to Seattle. So, I don't know. It's going to be pretty tight in the division, though, that's for sure.
Per DVOA, the Rams have had the hardest schedule in the NFL going into this week, and it gets a lot easier for them after that, though. Not easier compared to the first half, not necessarily easy for the Rams. This game, how do you feel that the bye week is going to sort of regroup? What sort of, obviously the Ricardo Lockett injury, we'll don't know much about that, I think, until they've been able to do all their tests and everything. But Danny, how are you feeling about the bye week? Is there players, especially I guess Paul Richards and stuff, that the Seahawks could be getting back or healthier when they play Arizona?
Yeah, I mean that's good for. I mean, obviously you like to have it as late in the year as possible, so having it now is nice rather than in week 4. Sounds like a couple of their receivers, obviously Lockett got hurt, and his status going forward is a real big question mark. And then I know that Chris Matthews got hurt as well. I want to say Cliff Averill got hurt.
Cliff Averill?
Yeah, he turned his ankle and missed a little time. There's a couple other guys. Oh, Luke Wilson looked like he got rolled over on at one point. I think it's going to be good because they'll have a lot of time to get healthy, get Paul Richardson back up to speed, But otherwise, I mean, I think you brought this up, Kenny, that they're really, really healthy at this point in the year. So that's a big deal for Seahawks. And having another extra week off is going to be big. So they're really poised to hit that second half and try and make some noise. Of course, you can find things that you don't like about this game, but this is a big win. This is a game they really needed to win, and they won it. And I mean, there's a lot of good things to take away from it, I think.
Sounds like something I might say if it's a good point. So, Russell Okung missed the game, however. I mean, that's one. He could be coming back. I mean, Russell Wilson, again, no sacks. He's still going to be the NFL leader in sacks, even not getting sacked. And with the bye week this week, he could still be the NFL leader in sacks after the bye week. He's got 31. Colin Kaepernick was sacked 3 times today, so that gives him 28. And then Alex Smith, I don't know how many times he was sacked today or whatever. But they were playing the Lions, so probably none because they won by a lot of points. He was sacked 3 times, so Kaepernick and Smith each with 28 sacks. Mina, any you want to throw some props at Alvin Bailey, or he just got lucky and was saved? His ass was saved by Russell Wilson.
I think it's a mixture. I think I was typing like a compliment about him, and then he got blown up or something. But it was there was progress. Obviously, Acuna comes back, and undetermined tackle that we might be trading for, which I kind of doubt is going to happen. You guys saw those rumors right before the game, right?
Which one?
That we're on the trade phones talking.
Oh, right, yeah. I believe it. I mean, I think they're always on the trade phones in terms of.
Yeah, I guess ostensibly though, people were the Browns linemen were coming up and just looking at their contract. It seems a little bit unlikely, but who knows? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at these rumors is the Seahawks are always calling people, but there's like a very small chance that they'll ever get like a price they want. So
Yeah.
there's, it's like definitely they're interested, I'm sure, and they're involved in it. So I guess that's something, but I wouldn't put much money on them actually doing anything.
I wasn't watching this game with a sense of like, oh my God, this is like a record bad offensive line. It was more like it was crazy watching the Cowboys offensive line, which feels like watching an entirely different sport.
Right.
I mean, it was just bonkers. Although that said, I thought we did a nice job containing the run. Versus I guess they're better at pass blocking, but Darren McFadden only put up something like 64 yards on 20 attempts, and
Yep.
I mean he was phenomenal last week. So I think that means we haven't given up a 100-yard game to a running back in like 17 or 18 games, which is excellent.
Nice factoid. Yeah, Castle was the guy who was getting all the rushing yards against the Seahawks today.
Yeah, you can't talk about that. So,
For all the staunch Jermaine Kearse supporters out there, one target, no catches. This is the third time this season that he has gone no catches. Big play guy, love the guy, love the kid, but perhaps his last season in Seattle, I don't think that.
Love the kid.
Love the kid, but P. Rich possibly coming back in 2 weeks. It sounds like if he was a possibility this week, then you would think with a bye week he could maybe get activated for the Cardinals game, and then all of a sudden the Seahawks receivers are Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin and Paul Richardson, and then Jermaine Kearse, and then all of a sudden all of them take a backseat to Jimmy Graham, but they did try, I think, a little bit to really utilize that run game. What did you think of Marshawn Lynch? 21 carries for 71 yards, only 3.4 yards per carry, but it felt like he was picking up some important gains there, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what the yards before contact were this game in terms of, because I think you're right. It seemed like he was getting blown up in the backfield quite a bit, making something out of nothing a few times there. Thought he played pretty well. I mean, there wasn't anything there's nothing that really comes to mind yet. His long was a 12-yard run. He kind of just grinded it out today.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to picture any of his big runs. He had a few on the first drive, and but it was just kind of regular game for him, I think, and nothing really stands out. I didn't think he played poorly, and I don't think it was like an outstanding game for him.
Yep. Mina, any changes on who your favorite Seahawk is?
No, it remains Jordan Hill.
Better to pass down.
Heads up play. You know what? Okay, I have to say, the guy just finds his way to the ball, right? I feel like he's always recovering fumbles or jumping on, and
Oh yeah, I forgot about his freaking touchdown.
Yeah, and
Right.
at a certain point, that he's just a heads up football player. When a guy's in that position a lot to make the play, and it was good on him. These days anything can go either way, and he followed through. So, Jordan Hill, player of the game.
Jordan Hill, player of the game.
On that Des Bryant first down to Richard Sherman too, he was right there.
Oh, I know, almost had it.
It went right through his hands. I swear to God. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
He gets some height.
go as far as bad refereeing goes, you cannot say that it was one-sided. It was just purely bad
Yeah.
refereeing, because that was the most obvious forward pass of all time, and then they gave us this weird hope of okay, and then it was so obvious. But yeah, so that's that, I think, unless there's any strong prevailing thoughts about the game that I've glossed over. I think we do need to do an edition of Reel in the Film Goals. So my film this week was The Last Witch Hunter, starring Vincent Dieselton. And I never saw a trailer for it. I just saw that it was called The Last Witch Hunter and it starred Vin Diesel. That meant I had to go see it. And it turned out he was like some hip witch hunter in like 2015 in New York when I was expecting it all to take place back in time. And I got to give it 10 out of 10 diesels. So it was well worth the $6 that I paid. Mina, did you see any movies this week?
I did not see any movies. I did see that there's going to be a sequel to one of my all-time favorite movies, Pacific Rim 2, is coming out.
Kaiju.
So just, a future movie.
Future move. Dan, did you get a chance at all to check out a flick this week?
No, I didn't watch a flick, but I binge watched the entire season of the Wet Hot American Summer first day of camp.
Oh, it's so good.
And I said this on Twitter the other day, and I think it's actually a pretty bold statement. I actually think it might be funnier than the original movie. It's so freaking good.
The original movie is it's such a classic that I don't know how I could ever like top it with another incarnation. But I saw the season once, and I loved it. I'll have to rewatch it again to really start to let some of those jokes soak in. And that's the thing with like a movie versus the series is I can see the movie 20 times, and in that same amount of time, I mean, you're watching the series like 2 or 3 times. So it's like it's harder to get those jokes cut in. Is there one particular joke that you remember?
I mean, not like nothing
exactly.
The first thing that comes to my mind is when Glenn, I think the cook Glenn, is looking for Vincent or Victor. No, he's looking for Victor, and he's like under the blanket and moving around a whole bunch. Then he like all of a sudden he's hanging from the rafters, and he like drops down all loud. I don't know, for some reason that whole scene was like the most absurd, hilarious thing to me. So that's the one that comes to mind. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember what that?
Nope.
Okay, well, rewatch.
My favorite was just that little. I don't know if I remember the line exactly, but the kids that bully the other kid, like there was a redheaded one. He just was my favorite character, I think.
Okay.
But
actually, I got the name wrong. It was Gene, not Glenn. My bad.
Oh, Gene.
Gene,
yeah. And I got caught up on Fargo season 2 this week, so that's awesome. That's a great show. Fargo. And now it's time for us to go away from doing this episode of the Instant Reaction show. Mina, any last thoughts?
No, just thanks for having me, guys, after I begged to be let back on.
She begged, she pleaded, and we conceded. So.
She could be on the show every week, as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, Danny.
I'll think about it for sure.
If she wants.
Of course. And but there won't be one next week, of course, because there's no game.
Love it. Yeah.
But in this game again, it also reminds me, if this was like the NFC Championship game or something, I probably would have killed myself. So I didn't have to watch that fourth quarter and just feel this disgusting feeling in my gut. At least like. With the Packers NFC Championship game going into the fourth quarter, I was like, oh, we're just going to lose, and I can go on with my life. And then it turned out that, no, you could not. But, yeah, some tense stuff this week. And they do get into the bye 4-4. They come out with a game against the Arizona Cardinals, who are 6-2. So if they win that game, they won't be in first place, but they will be one game back with an advantage over the Cardinals and then a home game against the 49ers. So it's not the most ideal way that it could have gone if the Arizona Cardinals had found a way to continue to shit the bed against the Cleveland Browns today instead of just shit the bed for a half and then start to play the Cleveland Browns like normal. But, so it's a big game coming up Sunday, November 15th against the Arizona Cardinals, and we will hear you again then, though I suppose we will also do some more episodes of Reel in the Field Goals and Reel in the Film Goals. That's it.